Hello, my name is Stevie and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a highly requested one, so without further ado, let's get started. It's about Rembrandt's luxury pocket box. I am not really surprised that this box caught a lot of attention. Not surprised either that so many of you are on the fence when it comes to Rembrandt luxury box. So first, let's talk about the aesthetic appeal of this watercolor set, and then from there we'll check if the physical attributes are consistent with the term luxury or luxurious. Royal Talents, the mother company of Rembrandt, complements this luxury pocket box with a natural sable brush in size 4. That right there speaks fine art tool sophistication. There's also plenty of room for watercolor mixing. The top part of the clamshell palette generously offers 5 areas for that. For those who are learning about Rembrandt, it's a professional watercolor line by Royal Talents, and they're made in the Netherlands. This product line offers 120 professional watercolors, and 12 of those are in this palette. Generally, I'm not into store-bought watercolor sets or half-pan palettes. My preferred method is to squeeze paint tubes into empty pans or blank palettes to create bespoke color sets. As a productive distraction from our topic for today, I'm sharing with you my Majella watercolor set. So these are the watercolors that I would work with, or I would prefer to work with if I'm working on a piece of botanical art. So you can purchase this online. It's a blank watercolor palette, and then you fill it with your preferred watercolors. I keep several sets of these along with swatch sheets that I also created to help me make decisions whenever I'm working on my watercolor pieces. So I have some for botanical art. I also have a set for landscape and whatever project I'm working on. Speaking of swatches, that is what this video is going to be about, or the bulk of this video will be focused on swatching Rembrandt's luxury pocket box. Essentially, swatching is the getting to know each other stage, where you'll see his or her true colors.
What?
It saves us from frustrations or heartbreaks in the future. It reveals the properties or qualities that come with each paint. With the abundance of influencers online nowadays, swatching also unmasks any hype about the color and presents a clear picture of what to expect. This swatch, for example, demonstrated that mineral violet wouldn't be able to give me that mottled effect that I was looking for as a last glaze for this artwork, so I switched to quinacridone violet because it offered a velvety soft finish. Please don't feel intimidated by these terms: mottled effect, velvety soft finish. I will walk you through what these things look like, but for now we will prepare our workspace. As always, only use distilled water for watercolor. For our new watercolor enthusiasts, here's one thing you need to know: the packaging of professional grade paints such as Rembrandt always contains the pigment information and crucial details pertaining to light fastness, transparency, and other watercolor properties. But it doesn't mean that they're always true. That's why swatching is necessary. To capture Rembrandt's full glory, we'll use this fine art quality paper from Arches. It is hot pressed and 100% pure cotton. Don't forget to thank the fruit manufacturers for making the best jars for watercolor painting. Everything is ready, so let's jump right in. Let me start by showing you how others do it. It's the simplest way and there's nothing wrong with it. This is my first time to try Rembrandt's watercolors, and as you can see, it dilutes beautifully. This color is permanent yellow deep. So this is what it looks like it's straight out of the pan and it's at its full saturation. This is called mass value. I'll save my feedback for the latter part of the video. For now, let's just focus on the sampling of the colors straight from the pans. And because I couldn't wait, I added a little bit of water just to see how it beads on paper. I will talk about beading in a separate video. Now let's see how it compares with Azo Yellow Deep. I noticed that the permanent lemon yellow reactivated faster than this color, but that is really just an observation and not a product flaw at all. This paint has the very essence of yellow, but it has rich, earthy tones to it. Just like the other yellow, it also glides beautifully on paper. Alright, so let's leave the yellow department for now and welcome our third color. So this one springs into action quickly when added to water. It doesn't need any introduction. Permanent Red Deep is an intense, warm red, as you can see here. So here I'm really just using the full saturation of the color, but I can already tell that it offers a dynamic range of options for tonal value. It diffuses exceptionally well. If you do a lot of wet on wet technique, you're gonna have a ball with this color. I can already see the soft, delicate edges that you can make with this one, especially for flower petals. According to the packaging, it's from the Series 2 collection, which means it has a higher pigment quality. Next, we have the Permanent Matter Lake. When it comes to red colors or red paints, I lean more towards this one. I'm not surprised that this diffuses exceptionally well also, but it's really amazing to discover that Rembrandt has this beautiful permanent matter lake, because I love using it for creating dark mixtures and warm neutral, especially when I'm mixing it with other colors or pigments. Let's welcome the first blue from the palette, which is the Ultramarine Deep. If you don't have French Ultramarine or Ultramarine Deep in your collection, now's the time for you to have one, because it's an incredibly useful color to have. It's a highly granulating color and it's also liftable, so you have a lot of possibilities, especially when it comes to wet on wet techniques, or even when using wet on dry technique. 3 words for this paint: rich, luminous, and intense. Next is Cerulean Blue, which is a favorite everywhere. Commonly used for misty landscapes or ocean-inspired paintings. This watercolor paint is a versatile component of any watercolor palette, in the sense that it's also a perfect mixing color. Think of Cerulean Blue as a slightly warm, bright, and clean blue with green undertones to it. And that's our clue for the next paint, which is the Viridian, first green on the palette. Viridian is an essential paint choice for most botanical watercolor artists, as well as portrait painters, due to its excellent glazing property and cool blue-green tone. You may think of Viridian as a transparent emerald green color. I think that's the perfect description for this color. Daniel Smith has a really good Viridian color, and it's great to see that Rembrandt also has an excellent version. Viridian uses PG18 as pigment. So I'm looking at this. This is Rembrandt's Permanent Green. It has a bright, vibrant green look to it that reminds you of Talo green blue shade and perhaps Hansa yellow light in its makeup. So it's a vivid green that I'm not used to. I can tell that it's highly staining. Earth tones and neutrals are next, so let's start with yellow ochre. I am very excited to do a proper swatching of this paint, because brands design their yellow ochre paints differently. The common denominator though is the pigment that they're using, which is pigment yellow 43 or PY43. And I'm curious to see if this one is more transparent or leaning towards the opaque direction. Later in this video, I'll show you how to do the swatching for that, but for now, let's take a look at burnt sienna. With its red-brown tone, it's easy to see why this rich earth pigment is a traditional palette staple for many landscape watercolor artists. If this is a good burnt sienna, it should combine well with other colors without losing transparency or intensity. So we'll do a swatch on that later. Let's bring in sepia now. It's a rich black-brown pigment, which is an essential in any basic watercolor palette. Right now you're seeing its full or darkest value, which is just really a sample. However, sepia is known for its broad tonal values. From its concentrated form to most subtle hue, the transition is stunningly beautiful that you have endless options for light and shadow transitions. I'll prepare a separate swatch for this and see how it reacts to particle exposure or particle separation. We'll find out all about that later. If this is a good sepia, then it should be great for wet-on-wet techniques. So now we're down to our last watercolor paint on the palette, which is Payne's Gray. This beautiful watercolor is a cool blue gray. It's a neutral color that's perfect for painting dramatic wet skies. It also helps create flat ocean water or post-storm clouds. Similar with sepia, it features a broad tonal range that it has excellent light washes and concentrated brush loads. If this is a good Payne's Gray, then it should render light and shadow play stunningly. The color should be evocative of drama or emotion. Watercolors are darker when they are wet, so we will let this dry. Then we can talk about why this approach can be limiting. Alright, so after 24 hours, Rembrandt's reputation for vivid colors is definitely represented in this simple swatch chart. However, this type of swatching doesn't reveal much and leaves a lot for guessing or misinterpretation. Let me show you how I approach color swatching. Hopefully it will encourage you to fall in love with watercolor. It's like dating. You want to see the true colors before doing any long-term commitment. The saying, don't just take things at face value, also rings true for watercolor paints. Aside from the satisfaction of laying pretty colors down on paper, we need to be asking, what specific things should we be looking for when testing out a new watercolor paint? More importantly, besides differences in color, what are the different variables that may affect watercolors' behavior and their final appearance? By understanding paint properties or paint values, you'll be able to make more informed choices when it comes to picking your color palettes or techniques. Like with oil or acrylics, watercolors are translucent, which means we can't simply cover up our mistakes. There are also external factors that affect watercolor behavior, from the type of paper that we're using to the type of water. This you may not have heard before, but even the temperature of the room we're working in affects watercolor behavior or pigment behavior. So we really have to learn to embrace the exploration process. This is my personal color study method. It's helped me progress my watercolor skills significantly and waste less paints and supplies in the process. So let's use the first one to explain the anatomy of this swatch card. We're looking at many things here, such as mass value. The very bottom part contains information about pigment and light fastness, as well as granulation and transparency. Name and manufacturer's information occupy this space as well. The black line is here to help us identify the opacity values of this watercolor paint. It doesn't show much here, but the lower right side is saved for particle separation. To see levels of dispersion, I use wet on wet technique for the top square. The gradient wash allows us to see the full color value at the top, as well as initial paper reaction. From here, there's a lot more for us to explore and discover. And remember, every color is unique. So let me explain the other aspects by going through each color swatch. Considered as the perfect yellow, let's start with Permanent Yellow Deep. The first thing you'll notice with this primary pigment is that it is high tinting and it's semi-transparent. Alright, I'm gonna try to explain level of dispersion at this point. That's really just a code for how quickly watercolor expands when in contact with damp paper. To test color separation potential, I sprinkled some salt on the lower right side of the box, but it doesn't really show much. Using wet on dry, we tested for the full strength of the paint as well as 50% dilution. I'll do my best to show it, but as you can see here, it's reliable for glazing techniques as well as lifting techniques. Since it's a low staining pigment, I didn't really have a lot of problem lifting some of the colors out to test for that. This color, according to Rembrandt, garnered level 3 light fastness, meaning under museum conditions, it should last or should be completely light fast for more than 100 years. This is a primary color or primary pigment, so it should mix well with other colors. Our next color is a lot more transparent than your X. Formulated with PY110, Azo Yellow Deep features a warm and golden yellow tone. When used at full strength, it suggests a romantic autumn sunset. This color is non-granulating and has high level of dispersion. A little bit of sprinkled salt showed some color separation potential. As you can see here, it can be used for glazing techniques, and I would rate this watercolor as medium staining since it had a little bit of resistance when I tried to lift the color. So overall, the tonal value of this color is impressive. It's so broad. The lightest wash is just a soft peach color, or what you would call a muted tangerine hue. Our next color, Permanent Red Deep, is a full love story. In the words of our Gen Z brothers and sisters, this color is so giving. At full strength, it delivers way better than your previous lover. It quickly springs into action when in contact with damp paper. Color separation potential is also remarkable on this one. When using wet on wet technique, you can really see from here that this color will be able to deliver a mottled effect or a velvety soft finish. I just can't help but notice that although Rembrandt said that this color is transparent, there's a little bit of opacity at the top here at full strength. Just a little bit, not too much. Using wet on wet, I was able to achieve this beautiful gradient wash, and as you can see here, it really demonstrates how dynamic the tonal range could be. It even packs a super intense red when used as a glaze. There is also a very nice liftable quality here, even though this is a medium staining color. If you're looking for a true, bright, cool red, there's so much to love about this one. But wait, there's more. If forever is 100 years or more, then this is true love. Permanence rate is at level 3. Certainly by now you have an idea of what we're looking for, so let's move forward with Permanent Madder Lake. This is an extremely transparent watercolor with an earthy direction, as you can see here. I'm so used to Daniel Smith's Madder Lake line, so I'm not sure if I could get used to this one, so let's take a look. Well, there's a great chance that I could also fall in love with this one too. At full mass value, it just excels in vivid clarity. The swatch can speak for itself. As you can see here, particle separation displays exquisitely, and the gradient wash is to die for. The full intensity of this color is phenomenal. You could see that the entire range of tonal value here is so sophisticated. Speaking of that, let me lead you to the bottom part of this swatch. This paint is medium staining, however it lifts nicely. For botanical artists, it's visibly clear through this swatch that this color has an amazing glazing property. Look at that. It has a level 3 light fastness, and I look forward to using this for future floral art. Our next color presents a strong case on why swatching is a crucial part of watercolor art. If we simply relied on the simple swatching method that we did earlier on the first part of the video, we wouldn't be able to discover the granulating properties of this watercolor. We also wouldn't be able to see the rich contrast between the full strength and diluted version of the paint. Through swatching, we're able to see that Ultramarine Deep by Rembrandt has a high level of dispersion as well as a beautiful display of particle separation. Its granulating factor is even noticeable at full strength. The diluted state will be perfect for painting blue skies or soft ocean water. As a caveat, this watercolor is granulating, so it will tend to have a mind of its own once it's in contact with water. Color lifting will not be a problem on this one, and glazing will be an enjoyable thing to do. Here, even at half strength or half mass value, the granulation is still strong. So beautiful. The light fastness level of this color is at level 3. Our sixth color on the palette is a global favorite. It's a Series 3 paint, meaning it's on a higher pricing tier. For cerulean lovers around the world, it's worth it. For centuries now, cerulean blue has inspired a lot of artists, not just watercolor enthusiasts, due to its versatility. The granulation is absolutely gorgeous, as well as the tonal range. I guess you can see it from the swatch, but the gradient wash is so heavenly. Plus the transitions, look at that seamless transition. That's what summer skies are made of. The difference between full strength and lighter washes is heaven and earth, and I would rate this watercolor as a low staining one. Paint is easily liftable, and it's incredible also for glazing. It's too subtle, but the greenish undertone is there. There is so much to unpack from this color, and just for fun, let's place cerulean blue beside or side by side ultramarine deep, just for color comparison and for appreciating the differences in color. Interestingly, both are granulating colors, just like our next color, Viridian. So there is a special point to make here, and I'd like to invite you to take a look or a closer look at the dried paint version compared to the swatch. The dried paint in the pan doesn't reveal much about the true beauty of this watercolor. This watercolor paint is extremely transparent. I know that I have already mentioned about granulation, but this swatch perfectly captures that. Particle separation is better displayed as well. Even at full strength using wet on dry, by the way, Viridian has nothing to hide. It is that transparent. The tonal range is not as dynamic as the other colors, but lifting is a breeze, and glazing technique will be so much fun with this color. Maybe I should make a separate video about watercolor techniques next time. The concentrated dried paint version is a stark contrast against the swatch. green, our next color is very Rembrandt, very on brand. Bright, radiant, vibrant, vividly translucent. It's all those terms. It's everything that watercolors are known for. Transparent, beautiful particle separation, nice gradient wash, and broad tonal value. Granulation is not an expected feature of this watercolor paint, but using wet on dry, I'm seeing some granulating action on there. That could be useful though, especially for botanical art, for leaves, because you want to show some organic spread of color pigmentation. The paint definitely provides a beautiful glaze. There is also a generous provision for color lifting. Unlike with Viridian, the tonal value is more dynamic on this one. The light washes of permanent green also offer a world of possibilities, but just for fun, let's place the swatch alongside Viridian's watercolor pan and swatch as well. They both fall under the green umbrella, but they're coming from different directions. You can see with permanent green that it has a strong yellow undertone to it. Viridian, on the other hand, is bluish. And we're only able to see the different elements because of proper swatching. Yellow ochre paints. They vary from brand to brand or manufacturer to manufacturer. So it's very exciting to see how Rembrandt formulated their own yellow ochre paint. So this paint uses two pigments, PY43 and PY42. It's a highly transparent watercolor, and it also shows, based on this swatch, a high level of dispersion. The paint is easily liftable, as well as a joy to use for glazing techniques. Overall, it has an impressive yellow ochre profile. It has a dynamic tonal range as well as high level of transparency. Let's see how it compares with our next earth tone, which is burnt sienna. This is one of the most useful colors in any watercolor palette. So burnt sienna is a very straightforward color. There's not much drama going on. Everything else is to be expected. For example, transparency levels are so high. It also features high level of dispersion. The tonal range should be dynamic or broad, and it has liftable properties as well. I'm used to Daniel Smith's semi-transparent burnt sienna watercolor, so I'm excited to have a full transparent one. It also allows for a beautiful glaze, so if that's your thing, you will definitely enjoy using this watercolor paint. So here is how it looks side by side, our yellow ochre paint. I'm used to making my own burnt sienna, but it's great to finally have a single pigment watercolor. Let's bring in sepia. Whenever I needed to talk about mass value or tonal value, this is the color that I like to use as an example. It's a medium staining watercolor, but it's easy to lift off the paper. The level of dispersion is unmatched, plus there's also this dramatic particle separation whenever it's in contact with salt or rice or any particle that can be used as a watercolor effect. It offers a wonderful glaze, plus an unbeatable tonal value. Finally, Payne's Gray. This is a semi-transparent color. Everything that we're seeing on this swatch is very typical of Payne's Gray. It has a high level of dispersion, as you can see on this swatch. Additionally, color intensity perhaps allows for a more dramatic particle separation, and I'm not sure why I'm seeing mild granulation. In any case, I welcome that feature. Similar with sepia, Payne's Gray also offers a broad tonal range. Just look at that extreme dark and light wash comparison. Using wet on dry, I tested the paint's full strength, and I'm not sure why I'm seeing granulation. That's why swatching is so worth it. Although there's color intensity, it still offers or provides a wonderful glaze if that's needed. And although it's a staining watercolor, it's also very liftable. Again, under museum conditions, this watercolor garnered a level 3 light fastness, so that means it should last for more than 100 years. Just for fun, let's do a quick parade of our earth colors. I know I'm a little biased because these are my favorite colors, but it's great to see an overview of their mass value, staining qualities, opacity or transparency, levels of dispersion, granulation, permanence or light fastness, and even their reaction to paper. By the way, to prepare the top part of the swatch for wet on wet technique, I used this Mottler brush from Princeton. For paint application, I used Rembrandt Sable brush. So let me take you back to the concept of this luxury pocket box. So you have 12 half pans here. 3 of them are primary pigments. So if you are into creating bespoke paints, you have the freedom or the ability to create your own sets of colors from these colors and the other colors that come with the box. If you're coming from student range watercolor experience, then you will notice that this luxury pocket box, which is composed of Rembrandt's watercolor paints, it has a higher pigment load than student grade watercolor sets. If you're coming from Rembrandt's sister company Van Gogh, then you will definitely feel or notice a major upgrade. Overall, Rembrandt is a professional level or professional grade watercolor, and I would say that color performance is above average, if not excellent. If you're into vivid and super vibrant watercolors, then this luxury box may be for you. And right now the determinant could be just the cost. I would say it's medium to high price or high price tag, so I would look around and compare. For me, I prefer Daniel Smith and the professional line of My Mary and Schminke and Winsor & Newton, but it all boils down to personal preference and what you're going to use the watercolor for. These swatches are definitely going to be a useful reference guide for when I'm painting. And now I want to talk to you about the brush that comes with the box. It's a typical natural sable brush. It's in size 4. It's a very thirsty brush with a fine point, so that's going to be perfect for detailed artwork. And size 4 offers a lot of coverage, so for road trips or travels, this luxury pocket box can perform very well for you. This video has evolved into something more insightful than I had planned. Originally, I designed this to be a simple unboxing video, but transforming this into a short course on proper watercolor swatching offers better value. Again, this is my personal method or my personal approach to swatching. Feel free to create your own swatch design based on the elements that you learn from this video. Swatching is definitely a useful reference guide for your painting projects. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye.